I think the biggest thing is the fact that we think of ourselves as a team.
Yeah.
I think it always comes back to that, because if you're having, good times and a good season, you're thankful that you have your team. And when you're at conflict with each other, you still lean into the fact that this is the team. Like, this is the team that we rely on. That's how I conceptualize why we've been able to just get stronger.
In today's social media obsessed world, we all see the successes, the world record breaking, and the achievements of the people we look up to. But what we don't see is what goes on behind the scene. Hosted by power couple Dean and Alana Stott, this show is dedicated to asking difficult questions while discovering the support systems and people behind those we love and respect in media, business, athletics, and high-performance culture. Dean and Alana believe that through honest communication, teamwork, and mutual respect, that anything is possible.
There's not a better partner I could choose who's equally as crazy as me, because we have a chip on our shoulder to prove people wrong, and to prove ourselves right.
I can go be the face of this. I can go do this, but I don't understand the back end of this. I have to learn business. I have to learn how this works.
Many couples in this dynamic are stuck and unable to move forward in an identity crisis.
Marcus's energy is so bad. I feel like I need to cleanse my house. It's suffocating. And then seeing him 24 hours later, he was as light as air. Yeah.
And we literally embraced, hugged. I stepped back and I said, this is exactly what the guys need.
When we can look behind the scene and learn from each other, we can finally move forward and transform into our fullest potential.
And I'd be interested, do you run the family the same way? Is there core values within the family?
Maybe they're more unspoken.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're we definitely have our own culture with the kids.
Oh yeah. We've literally flown into LAX. I think it was from Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Hugo, our driver, picked us up, and we decided in Hawaii, everyone put on your workout clothes. When Hugo picks us up, hey, Hugo, don't drive us home. Drive us to my gym, BK Strength. We got there, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. We did a family workout because we can't miss our nightly workout as a family. And then Hugo said, do you want me to wait? I can wait. No, don't worry. I'll take one of I keep a couple of cars in the gym. There's a garage behind my gym. Hey, we'll just take the truck and we'll go home. You're done, Hugo, go. And that's one of our nutty core values. It doesn't matter what's happening. We've gone out to nice fancy dinners and then come home, changed, and then went to the gym to work out. We have these core values. We do our nightly hot tub thing. Chloe doesn't necessarily go on that, our daughter, but Andrew and myself and Diana. But we do have our, unspoken core values. And that's just a byproduct of we lived a role model life with our kids since they were puppies. We took them everywhere with us. We spoke to them like adults. They've experienced more countries and more cultures by the time they were 10 than I did by the time I was 30. And so, how many times have we gone to fancy restaurants when they were puppies? And usually, the grandmas, grandpas who were eating 2 tables away, as they're leaving, they would come to us and go, your kids are so well-mannered. They're so well-behaved. They're like little adults. And because of that, their expectations are high. I know Andrew and Chloe expect to have a Marlin in their house. Marlin is our house manager. She makes sure the fridge is stocked and everything's clean, the laundry's done, et cetera, so that Di can focus on her zone of genius. I can focus on mine. But the kids also realize that when I'm living on my own, I'm either doing my own laundry or I have to make such impact on humanity that I'm paid so well that I have my own housekeeper. And I want them to have those expectations. I want them to feel like I always have to fly first class and not compromise in any other way. And so those are the core values that are just naturally instilled. Our son, I'm going to tell this little story from the other night. Our son, it was prom night 2 nights ago. His friends went to prom in LA. They're coming back. They're texting him. And Andrew told me and Diana, hey, later tonight, I'm going to go meet up with my friends at their house, at one of their house. They're going to drop off their girlfriends after prom. all right, son, no worries. It's 9:30, 10 o'clock. He changes his clothes, put this cool guy hat on, takes Diana's car keys. And I'm standing in the kitchen. Diana's already gone upstairs to go to bed. And I'm standing in the kitchen taking my supplements. But I was dragging my feet just long enough. And I hear the door open. I go, hey, buddy. Hey, Dad. You're not going? No, I changed my mind. And I said, hey, I didn't want to tell you in front of Mom when we were on the hot tub. But I also knew you knew that you don't want to do stupid things with stupid people at stupid hours of the night because it produces a stupid outcome. He goes, I know. That's why I'm back. He never left the driveway. And he texted his friends and said, I'm not coming. Because stupid people, stupid hours of the night, stupid things are going to happen, right? And so those core values were so early on instilled that there was no need for me to have that conversation in front of Mom to then make him feel weird about himself. Yeah.
Do you have abduction notes for Marlin in case she doesn't?
We do.
we do actually. Yeah. And she
the
is
most important one.
Yeah, she is irreplaceable. Yeah. Her and Joan are like probably our top two. Yeah. Even more than our CEO, Bryce.
Yes.
It was actually something we got told really early on. Your life's about to change now. You know, when we fell pregnant with Molly, it was your life's about to change. You're not going to be able to do the things you're doing right now. And we were like, why can't we do it? You know, Molly was born and she was like the most super content baby you've ever come across. She was just chilled. But we've since learned that all three of our kids have been like that. So it's who we are, not who the outside is. So exactly the same. They've traveled the world. They've done all the things there, and politeness is everything. Like that's what we said. We don't really mind what else is happening as long as they're respectful and they're polite. They can sit on a plane. They know how to put their seatbelt on. They do all their own things. And again, we don't do anything for them. And living in Orange County, we're the next county along from you, but we go into restaurants often and we see the lack of please and thank yous. We see people that can't ask for their own bill, can't do their own, and I think these teeny little things that you can instill to your kids now will be so beneficial in the future, but it's missing. I think I wonder what the next stage is going to be if they don't know how to say please and thank you.
Right.
It starts there, right? Like just basic manners. And us setting those expectations. I don't remember one time having an iPad or an iPhone in front of our kids. And you go to any restaurant in the last decade and you would see the kids with an iPad or an iPhone being brainwashed there instead of being taught manners and given an experience. We've never outsourced or delegated raising our kids. Like Diana has done such an amazing job with both of them, but we've also poured into them. And then now one's 15 and one's 17, and we're literally built-in best friends. Like we'll go on a double date with them two over anybody else because it's guaranteed good times, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, no. So obviously Bedros, Diana, we know who you are. We know about Fit Body Bootcamp, but that's not all you do. Obviously, this is a great pitch opportunity as well. So what other stuff do you have going on, Bedros?
So we've got also True Lean supplements, which we created in 2019. In 2019, we created a supplement line. The idea was going to be that it's the cleanest, most natural supplement line with no additives, no hormones, no artificial sweeteners, no soy lecithin. Like this is stuff you can feed your baby. This is stuff you can feed your grandma and know that it's going to be good for their health, for their system. And we launched that because the idea was it's going to be sold in Fit Body boot camps. But in 2020, when the pandemic happened, sometimes you have to turn chicken shit into chicken salad. And so in 2020, when the pandemic happened and we lost over 200 franchise gyms, 200 locations, and the last thing franchisees were worried about was selling supplements, right? They were trying to keep their gyms open because our franchisees are all small business owners. We realized that, gosh, they're telling people not to go out. The government's telling people not to exercise. They're telling them everything that's contrarian to being healthy.
Yeah.
And so we created the wellness shot. We did not have the wellness shot until the pandemic. We created the wellness shot to give people something that would actually, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, everything that was known to help boost the immune system, cut down inflammation. And what has now become our best-selling product was created during the pandemic out of necessity. And then now we took our business direct to consumer worldwide, not to just franchisees. But those are our two big companies. And then I coach and consult really any kind of high-performing entrepreneur. Literally every person, every guy that's come out of special operations, from MARSOC to Navy SEALs to Green Berets to Rangers. I've had the good fortune to coach and consult if they want to become entrepreneurs. Currently, I have 4 doctors who I'm working with, helping them, grow their business, launch their books. And so I get to work with some high-performing entrepreneurs as well, which is really neat because my brain just works in the way of give me a problem that's business related and I want to solve it. And so I've solved problems in my companies. Now I want to solve problems in industries that I'm unfamiliar with because it's a fun challenge. And so I've kind of built that reputation. Of course, I took an equity in Fuel Hunt. So Dean, thank you for wearing that brand. I was a customer first, a fan of the product. Everybody wants to eat, but Fuel Hunt. Like you get that. Like you either get it or you don't, right? And if you get it, then we're cut from the same cloth. And so I asked him, I said, guys, can I buy into this company? You tell me every time I wear it, your sales go up. I'll never take it off. Like if I can just be a part of it, And so I had the good fortune to buy into the company and be a co-owner of it. And then we run these meaningful events for me called The Project and the Squire Program. The Squire Program is a father and son rite of passage experience. Sons are usually teens, 13 to 16 years old. 20 sons, 20 fathers go through a 12-hour experience where that young boy at the end of that 12 hours goes through a very grueling obstacle course, blindfolded, being only guided by the father's voice, walking through razor wire, bear traps, 2x4s with rusty nails sticking out of it. And the idea is that was your rite of passage to sit at the table as a young man where your dad and his tribe of men that he trusts will guide you into masculinity. Our culture for the last 100, 200 years has missed that. Boy Scouts are long gone. Knights had squires for that reason. And they would teach these young men into being chivalrous, savage men. That no longer exists. And this is why we have what they've dubbed toxic masculinity. And so to me, that's meaningful work. Boys are starting. I really believe that if we can change the next generation, we can save this country. And we are working our tail off to do that. And then the project is a 75-hour experience for men, entrepreneurs who want to go through a very grueling experience. We lure them in by saying they're going to work with guys like Dean. One of our instructors is a Navy SEAL. One of them is a Marine. Actually now we have a second Navy SEAL. One of them is a, Dean, what is it called when they teach you guys to escape, evade?
SIC or survival evasion.
Yes. One of them is a SEER instructor. So we go, hey, imagine learning all these cool skills from a Navy SEAL and a Marine and a sniper and a SEER instructor. And then, of course, I'm going to be there as the business entrepreneur guy teaching you how to make more money. And so the guy's like, yes, I'm in. But then at hour number 36, we do the deep work and we make them all cry and talk about the trauma in their life and they journal. And then it's a bonding experience because most men live lives of quiet desperation. It's one of my favorite quotes. And they're white knuckling through life, kind of suffering in silence. And they feel like they just need to tough it out and go. And I created the project because I knew that men needed a brotherhood where they can bond, connect, and heal. And if I could wrap the healing up with cool stuff, working with guys like Dean and ice baths and pulling a truck and going hiking and for 75 hours straight, they get 9 hours of sleep in that entire 75 hours. But then we give them a lot of journaling and self-work. Those two are the most meaningful work I do. And it's because of my other companies that we're able to fund those two things.
That was definitely something I found from working with Dean. I'd done a lot of work with the guys before and after the transitioning phase, but also with the sportsmen, because we found the distinction between them. They were the same people, injuries, whatever would happen. But we found that guys need their tribe. That was what it was. Do you think women are the same? Do you think women need that?
I feel like women, we find our people. Mm-hmm. Like we're wired to connect. Because I've always had friends where, we talk about being mothers, we talk about everything, and we we make that connection ourselves. So I don't know. In my experience, like women find the connection that they need, whereas men, I think, like you said, they become isolated and they need it to be more of a structured tribe.
Yeah, I mean, what I've heard now, we're about to do our 17th class of the project. I can distill it down to mission, purpose, team. Like every man wants to have a mission, wants to have some sense of purpose, and wants to do it with a team. I imagine, I've never been in the military, but I imagine like that was a big component in what you did, Dean, mission, purpose, team. And I've seen so many guys come out of the military or professional sports. One of my coaching clients is a former Super Bowl winning champion. One day he's, recognized by the world and he's on TV and he's winning Super Bowls. Next day he's a nobody, not a nobody, but he doesn't have his mission, doesn't have his purpose, doesn't have his team. And it really throws you for a loop. As a man, you kind of aren't wired to go find it. You're hoping that it finds you. And so by creating experiences like this, I think men can go find something. And if they resonate, they then belong. Yeah.
I think I went through it myself. It's an identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone from being in this tribe. I knew what I was doing every day for the next 2 years, working with like-minded professionals to, you're now out the military, where do I now fit in? I'm not allowed back in this tribe. What other tribe suits me? So there's I'd see a lot of synergy with professional sports people. But it's not just sports or special forces, anyone part of any team, whether you've been with an organization or corporation for 30 years, when you retire, it's like they feel like they're not part of a team anymore. So I can really resonate with that. But going back to, thank you for sharing those projects and all the other stuff. It was interesting because your two biggest successes, the True Lean Wellness Shot on the back end of COVID, and the Fit Body Bootcamp was in 2008 during the financial crash. So your biggest successes have been during
the worst times.
During the worst times, yeah.
And me and Alana moved over to America during COVID, probably the best move we did as a family. So I think there's a common theme there of entrepreneurs, is where others are panicking and putting down the hatches, you see that as an opportunity. And do you think that comes with resilience? Your time back in 2008, I did read your book, Chloe had just been born. You just bought a house, your mortgage up to the eyeballs, and then all of a sudden your house value dropped by 50% overnight, but you had to make it work. So that's what I love about what you've just told me there, is that your two biggest successes are when the world was at a crisis.
There is something to be said about resiliency, man. Having gone through trauma, having gone through experiences when you're a child, when you're beaten or abused, or you come to this country and you're living in Section 8 housing, and it builds a high level of resiliency. And Diana's had her share of opportunities to build resiliency. And I have a special love for people that have gone through shit and have come out the other side of it as a better human, a more resilient human, a more resourceful human. And I think these days we're so quick to bubble wrap our kids, to leave the metaphorical training wheels on too long. And so they don't experience resiliency. They don't have the ability to be resourceful because we're constantly helping them out. And so we've made it a point with our kids to kind of give them hardship and do hard things. But our life, there's not a better partner I could choose who's equally as crazy as me, because we have a chip on our shoulder to prove people wrong, and to prove ourselves right at the same time. And people go, well, isn't that unhealthy? No. Tim Grover talks about, if you can take all that rage, he told Dwayne Wade, one of his most famous athletes, he said, if you can take that rage and you channel it for 48 minutes on the basketball court, you will be a world champion. And that's exactly what he became.
I think the only thing you said that I didn't disagree with at all, but when you said you were coming home and you can switch off and you don't talk about work, I wonder how you do that, because it sounds like you're very similar, that everything we do is work, but we love it. We don't call it work because it would be interesting to see, like, is the gym work, or is your fitness side the non-work and the gym's work? And do you actually manage to distinguish between work and pleasure, or is it all?
I think if work, sorry, jump in. I think if it's work, it's not enjoyable. I don't see it. If it's enjoyable, I don't see it as work. That's what I say. So that's why I don't mind talking about it. I don't know.
I think part of it is when your company gets really big, there's so much like logistics and bureaucracy and things that aren't like the core of the entrepreneurial, like the fun part. Like we will talk about the idea stuff, but we're not going to talk about management stuff. Okay. You know what I mean?
And all that stuff.
Yeah. And for us, like fitness in the gym, like that's fun. That's like, that's the best.
She nailed it. When any organization gets so big, where if you take on the decisions that we have to make, a medium-sized company with 10, 15 employees, they don't have to make that. We have to make decisions that also get filtered through hundreds of franchise locations who were overseen by the Federal Trade Commission. And so to have that conversation at home, at the dinner table, at the couch could definitely lead to something more drawn out that neither one of us would enjoy. And I think we're both very intense personalities where if we decide to butt heads, it doesn't matter what time of the night it is, we're butting heads. Yeah. So the better plan is to maybe not butt heads when it's dark. When the sun is up, I'm all for a good fight. You know?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think from our side, going back to the crisis thing, is like Alana's always the one in a crisis with the calm head. No, during COVID, she told me we're moving to America. I'm like, I can't disagree with her. I just there to support her. So I've been quite fortunate. And I used to come back sometimes away on tour, and she'd come back, she'd have these mad ideas, and I'd never deflate her. I would say, yeah, okay, darling. And, and some of them came off and some of them didn't. But I think, where I'm getting at with this is that, if you just look to your right and she's there or he's there, then, you've got the best support network. And I'm sort of going back to the things during the crisis. Dan, I don't know whether you thought Bedros was mad, but, you just believed in him. And that's what I was getting at with Alana. I actually believed her when she said we're moving to America. I believe her, but I'm probably the least strong-minded when it comes to a crisis. I like to have control if possible, whereas Alana thrives in those opportunities. It sounds like you do the same, Bedros, Diana. So I just wanted to get that in there.
Yeah, I was going to go into the motherhood and being a mother and being a wife and that, what Dean was saying there, being the calm mind in a storm, really. There was a time, if you don't mind me touching on it, in 2015 that you guys went through something really difficult. Do you mind me talking about?
What was it?
Were you sick?
Yes, I had a cancer diagnosis in 2015.
I was really, I read about it and it was amazing. Like, I definitely learned a bit, so thank you very much. I come from Scotland where we don't really have much sun, and it's definitely not a problem over there. So definitely you've kind of opened my eyes a bit living here now, especially for the kids too. Yeah. But for you, how did that feel? Because I'd imagine if you're anything like us too, you look at her like she's unbreakable. Was it?
It honestly, it was scary, and all you could do is maintain a positive mental attitude. Like, if there's one certainty I know, it's that, like, Diana is there next to me. And in that moment, you realize that, like, you don't even want to entertain it. So I would just constantly push the idea, because if I remember correctly, they took out the mole.
Yeah. So this was a melanoma diagnosis.
Yeah.
For those who don't know.
Yeah. And this would actually be a good PSA.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if anyone's, I don't know if it's all fair skinned or anybody, any kind of skin, like, if we're out there in the sun, like, you ought to consider getting yourself checked.
Well, especially if you've ever done tanning beds, which I did as a teen and in my 20s. And there's other just hereditary factors, but melanoma is the bad one that can spread everywhere. So I was in my early 30s and just went for a routine skin exam. And actually, well, there's a history of skin cancer in my family, but not melanoma, like the not deadly ones. And the family we bought our house from in 2007, their dad had died of melanoma. And I remember hearing the story, and he was only in his like 50s, I think. And I just made a mental note. I'm like, when I turn 30, I'm going to make sure to get skin checks. And so I started going and was very surprised when they found it. But I always tell people I had kind of like the best case scenario when it comes to having cancer, because they found it, they were able to surgically take it out, and the margins were clear. I never had to have chemotherapy. So I'm kind of like, yes, it was very scary when it was happening, because you don't know. You don't know how far it spread. You don't know the next step. And the doctors are really, they're cautious to tell you like, yeah, you're good, you're clear, because, their own liability. But yeah, it was a scary time for sure.
Yeah, it was the first time that there was a sense of uncertainty in my world. And I just kept pushing that out of my mind and kept a positive mental attitude about it. I know if anyone's going to fight off anything, it's going to be Diana. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, aliens could come and she's going to fight them off. And she's going to figure it out. And thankfully it worked out in the best way that it could for us. And I guess it really was something that now, with Chloe and Andrew, and you get regular checkups, but I think it's so overlooked.
Yeah. I mean, somebody coming from Scotland, we have the NHS. That's our private, or you can go private, but even then it's nothing near to what you get here. So I don't even know what a skin check is. Yeah. Do you just go to...
Yes,
dermatologist.
So you go to a dermatologist, and they're going to look at all of your moles, and they're going to, there's different indicators, but the color, the size, the shape. If you ever, the biggest thing is if you see a new spot on your skin that you haven't had before, or if you have a mole that's bigger or looks like it's changed in color, those are all indicators. For me, I didn't have a spot that I thought was troublesome. It was on my back. It was pretty small. But if they're curious about it, they'll take a little sample, they'll send it to the lab, and they'll let you know if it's, normal skin or if it's like slightly abnormal skin. I get a lot of those back. Like it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being melanoma, this is like a 4, but I think just my skin, I have tons of moles, and I didn't treat my skin well when I was young. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good practice to have, just to randomly go.
Annually, or is it?
After 5 years of having clear scans, I'm doing it less, like maybe every other year, but just doing the full body scan. And if I ever see anything where I'm like, okay, that looks a little different, it looks a little darker or a different spot, then I'll go in specifically for that. But I've had so many things like lanced off my skin. It's like part of the process.
Yeah.
You get Kaiser Permanente or Hogue to sponsor the show.
No kidding, man.
But I was just staying on health actually, and probably derailing the high speed train. Your opening chapter in your book, it talked about where you thought you were having a heart attack, Bedros, and and so obviously, and that changed the way that you approached life from then on. You were being overworked, your diet was poor, you weren't exercising. Do you always, because it is very easy to fall back in that trap and be so fixated on work and getting that done. Have you taken lessons from that experience, and do you see those? Do you see those sort of trigger points early?
Yeah, way early. And you know what? Again, like something so traumatic will leave a scar on you, right? Like what happened with Diana with the melanoma was something that now she's more self-aware about her moles. You can almost become like your own dermatologist, and you go every other year and you get checked. Well, for your audience, it was a particular morning. I went across the pool deck to the guest house. I'd left my tennis shoes up there the night before and walked back to the house barefoot, because I played the drums barefoot and I have drum set up there. So Monday morning, I go and get the tennis shoes. As I bend over in the guest house to pick up my tennis shoes, all of a sudden, my heart rate goes up. My arms start tingling. I get tunnel vision. I hear the thug lug, thug lug, thug lug in my ears of my heart beating. And it was really the tingling of my arms. I remember reading somewhere in phys ed class that a heart attack, like one of your arms, you're supposed to feel something. And I was like, crap, I'm feeling both of my arms go numb. This is a really bad heart attack. And I was 37, 38 years old. So 10, 11 years ago. And what ran through my mind wasn't like, I accepted death immediately. And then I felt sadness for Diana, Chloe, and Andrew. Immediately, I felt like I'm letting Diana down. I said, till death do us part. But I thought death was going to come so far down the line, like 80s and 90s. And I felt like I'm letting a wedding vow down. And then I felt sadness for Chloe, who was going to walk Chloe down the aisle. She's 15 now. So 10 years ago, she was 10 years old, right? Who's going to walk Chloe down the aisle? And then who's going to teach Andrew to become a modern day knight? And in that moment, the next thing that runs through my mind is, well, Di thinks I just left for work. So when they find me up here at night, I'm going to be bloated, rigor mortis, right? And so I was like, that's going to be traumatic for them to find me. So if I could just come down the staircase, and if I die on the pool deck, she'll find me sooner, and it won't be so traumatic, right? I just think like I would be a very unsightly scene, like 15 hours later to be found. And so I don't know if it was the walk or the fresh air, but as I stumbled my way down the staircase, everything goes away, and I'm just left in a little puddle of sweat. But later I find out from a doctor that it was an anxiety attack. He put me on Xanax for, I don't know, like maybe I took it 5-6 days. And I remember thinking, all right, I have no desire to have a panic attack, but I also have no desire to work right now. Like I just wanted to sit on the couch and veg out, and that is not who I am. And you're trying to build a company, and so that kind of led to figuring out better ways to cope. And thankfully, I found better ways by working with the therapist and changing lifestyle. Lifestyle was the biggest thing. Like, how can you think that you're going to take a high performance vehicle and put low quality fuel in it, low quality oil, not maintain it, but expect it to work like a high performance vehicle on a track? So in hindsight, I think my 30s, it was just stupid times. Yeah.
He takes better care of himself now.
Yeah.
I think
you take better care of now, Diana. Yeah.
I think that I think specifically during the pandemic, that there's a lot of people that who maybe previously would have turned to maybe pharmaceuticals were starting to question what they were being told and what they were being given. And so moving on to more supplements and moving on to a healthier lifestyle and seeing alternatives has definitely became a bigger, I've seen anyway. And I don't know whether it's because I'm living in America now and I'm like, what on earth? Like, what is all this pharmaceuticals? But even our children were asked to take stuff when we first arrived, and we were like, absolutely not. Anything else that you want to look at? Even when I think Dean was doing the bike ride, and I was working around the clock. So he was in Argentina, he was in Chile, and I was in the UK, and we were doing various time zones, and baby was just maybe a year old at the time, and I wasn't sleeping, and the doctor immediately wanted to put me on antidepressants. And I was like, dude, have you asked me if I've been at the gym? Have you asked me what I've been eating? Have you asked me how much fresh air I've got? Like, you've asked me nothing. And he actually said to me, he goes, Alana, I've got 10 minutes. I don't have time to go through all that with you. I was like, okay. Like, there's the crazy. So I think that what That's you absurd. Guys are doing, and the other people that we're meeting that are working on these, actually thinking outside the box and thinking of new things that we can do for longevity and health and a better lifestyle is amazing. So thank you.
There was an incident with you, Alana, during that bike ride where you were constantly under stress. You were so overworked that you had to go to the hospital. And it sounds similar to Bedros. I think the here for entrepreneurs is listening to those or seeing those signs as well, because as entrepreneurs, we don't have an off button. We on that.
We really don't. Yeah.
A high speed train goes at speed; it never slows down, and so it's incidents or scares like the cancer, like your anxiety attack, like yours, Alana, which I think was also an anxiety attack as well. It sort of really, really, really resonates because we are 100 mile an hour. I'm never going to slow
I do think. And I know you and I have talked about this, but I do think there is something wrong with us, all of us. And I say that in the best way, right? We're also the crazy ones that look at Elon Musk. He put a Tesla in a rocket and he's shooting it up to Mars. Like, there's something clearly wrong with him in the best way possible, because Di and I have talked about this, that I feel my self-worth comes from working, from producing, from creating, which to an extreme is very unhealthy. Like, because if I won't feel valuable to humanity if I feel like I'm just lounging for 2 days. Most recently, I got COVID and I finally took 2 days off, like had Joan cancel calls and meetings. I've powered through 2 other COVIDs, just worked straight through. It doesn't matter. But most recently I realized, like, wait a minute, man, you're just going to kill yourself, right? And I think there is some beauty of age and experience because it creates wisdom. At 48, I can slow down and realize I'm still valuable to humanity. I just need a couple days off. Whereas in my 30s, early 40s, all of my identity, my self-worth, any value came from production, from working.
Well, as humans, we soothe and we shield. And so there's different behaviors that we can do, and some of them are more unhealthy or maladaptive, and some are healthy. And so being a workaholic, being an entrepreneur, always having something that you're striving after, that is a very adaptive, healthy thing compared to chasing a high or doing any other kind of destructive thing. So when you say we're crazy, okay, I mean, I can agree to a level that we do some pretty intense things, but look at the outcome, right? Like there's a lot of healthiness to it when you look at alternatives.
And the other thing that my dad says to me, he says, you're not happy unless you're stressed. Like that's his thing to me. He says, but the 2 things that he does, it's the complete opposite. So Dean will tell you, me and my dad are literally polar opposites of each other, of everything that we do. But the 2 things that he probably slightly doesn't agree with in me is that I'm always got to be under some sort of stress and always helping people. I think that that's my 2 highs is being super busy and helping people. And we haven't touched on that side of it with you guys yet, which I'm pretty much 100% sure you guys do the give back, because you've already told me about what you do with the kids. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that too.
We just love giving back. And I think it's also therapeutic. It's very healing when you're able to give back. In our case, it's to a lot of child-based charities. Toys for Tots, like every Christmas we're buying tens of thousands of dollars of toys for Tots, and these toys go to kids whose families could not afford a Christmas gift. And then Shriners Children's Hospital we've been donating to for 12 years now, right, consistently. And my goal is to die as the #1 donator to Shriners. And then, Compassion International, to be able to give money to kids, or at least to organizations who can outfit kids and get them education in 3rd world countries. And it's healing. And then also in the world, like when I think about what we do with the project, we've run 16 classes, the 17th class is next month. We have yet to have a profitable class. We lose money. Like I'm talking like $80,000 to $100,000 per class.
Wow.
But I also have letters from 9 men that have graduated the project that have said like they would have killed themselves, committed suicide had it not been for the project. Wow. And so I feel called to help, compelled to help, drawn to help. And I realize the more I help others, there's a healing component to it, cathartic component to it for me. So it's a very selfish thing to do as well. Yeah.
It's definitely something that if I feel that we're lacking in something, I'm like, right, we need to go and do something good for other people. And it does. It's like, I don't know, it's karma or if it's just an effect in the universe. But I think it was something that made me fall in love with Dean anyway. When I seen he had that same heart as me, he would do anything for anybody. And that was definitely something that, especially when you see them type of people, the warriors that they are, and then they still go out and do all these amazing things.
And by and large, I found it's always people that have seen hardship and are the ones that are most drawn to helping others. And I think because I don't know, they can feel what suffering is. Yeah. Like I understand what suffering is. Like we here understand what suffering is, and you've had hardship in your life. Like you're not going to feel like a victim, but you get yourself out of it. Then you say it feels good to help others, and if I can. Well, awesome. And not everyone who, by the way, we try and help ends up wanting to help. There's been plenty of people who just continue to self-sabotage and exit their way out of our life. And that's okay too. Yeah.
And I think, so Bedros has a very popular podcast, and I just started a podcast as well, but I think that's part of how we give to others, because we have these ideas and we have this information and this momentum in our life. And it is, we call ourselves artistes because we literally put our heart and soul into it, and we're just putting it out there. It's not something we get paid to do. Yeah. It's not something that we have to do, but you're putting it out there. And somebody last night at dinner, they took me out for Mother's Day dinner, and one of the waiters of the restaurant comes over and says, like, Bedros, you've changed my life because I watch your podcast. And so it's like, that's him serving, right? He's putting everything that he has out there, not expecting anything back.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, like in this room, like these cameras, yes, they're recording, but then there's humans that are going to edit and process and
amazing
audio.
Human.
Right. Amazing human, in fact, right? Like, there's a lot of work that gets done behind the scenes that, there's not necessarily any money being produced here other than just value for humanity. And so it's the rare type of person that is like, hey, I'm going to heal myself. And then as I continue to do the work, I'm going to share what's worked for me with others, whether it's in a podcast like this about couples or, helping people overcome and grow to their higher self, self-mastery in business, whatever. Because with that also comes judgment. I mean, go read the comments on my YouTube show, right?
Yeah.
It's 99% are awesome, but I will fixate. Yeah. I will fixate on that one. Like, all right, what's his intentions? It's like, what's my intentions? Like, dude, relax, right? But anyways, it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember years ago back in the 80s, one of my grandparents had a sign on the desk, and it was like, when I am right, no one remembers. When I'm wrong, no one forgets. And I think it's just on steroids now with social media, isn't it?
Yeah.
So true.
I think what I like and listen to you guys is you obviously work with charities and you see the impact where that money goes, but it's that waterfall effect where you're affecting people's lives you've probably never met before. And that's, so when we did the bike ride, Alana raised $1.3 million. We saw where the money went, but we still get emails and people saying, I've just decided to start cycling, or I've just started, it's people you've never met before that you have impact. So that's why I agree with what you were saying, Diana, your podcast, Bedros' podcast. And Bedros said to me last week as well, I'm not serving humanity if I'm not, educating everyone, not educating them, but, sharing our story. And so, it's those that you don't see that, which hit home a lot harder than.
And I think you never, until you felt that feeling, I think for anybody who does question it and say, why do you bother? Why don't you just look after your own family? If someone messaged me this week, he was scared to go and ask for a pay rise from his job and how to ask for money in my book, and we were talking about it, and I gave him some hints and tips. He went and he got the pay rise, and just that little tingle that you get, like I've helped that dude. The kids out of Afghanistan, when you were watching one of the kids that we got out, it was a 4 days of sitting up all night getting this kid out. Eventually got him out. He's now living in New York, but normally you never hear from them, and that's cool. They're just getting on with their life. But somebody sent us a video of this little dude watching Peppa Pig, learning English through Peppa Pig in New York, and I was in tears obviously watching it. But those little feelings, you can't buy that. There's nothing, no amount of money could ever buy that feeling. So if you're actually feeling down or depressed or anything, go help someone. It will make you feel amazing.
100%.
I honestly believe that the anxiety and depression that people are dealing with today is a byproduct of selfishness. That humanity has become so selfish, so self-serving, that your conscience, the way it knocks on your door, is through anxiety, depression, because you don't feel good. Like, everyone knows they want to inspire, everyone knows they want to help, but everyone also selfishly, instinctively wants to look out for themselves or screen suck for hours on social media. You nailed it. Like, if you're feeling crummy, if you're not feeling your best, go help someone with something. And when you do, I think it's factory installed in us to want to do that. And the more we fight our factory installed things, which animals don't. We talk about this all the time. Our animals,
Instincts. Yeah.
our cat, our dog, they'll find a light where the sunlight is coming and they'll all lay together right where the sunlight is. And when the sun moves, they all move along. We know we're supposed to be out in the sun, and we wake up in a box. We sit in a little box. We drive to a box, to work in a box, get back in the box, come back to the box, avoiding sunlight for days, and then wondering why we're depressed and anxious, and then avoiding, isolating ourselves and wondering why I haven't talked to anyone. Well, we're tribal. Like, when did you see one caveman survive, take down a brontosaurus or a saber-toothed tiger to eat? It was like the tribe of cavemen that came together and set up a trap and distracted the saber-toothed tiger and the three guys who attacked it with the spear or whatever the fuck it is that they do to take that thing down, right? But then we go, I'm going to isolate myself. I'm not going to have sunlight. Forget about working out and lifting heavy things or even going out to get my food. I'm just going to order my food on an iPhone and watch my burrito come down the street. And then we, like, in a sad state, eat our shit and then wonder, like, why life sucks. Like, hello, right?
There we go. Solved. It's all solved.
There you go.
Hopefully the gentleman Alana helped the young boy when he grows up. The 9 gentlemen you helped with the project, they will do the same, and hopefully that pay it forward. Yeah. So hopefully, that's what my hope is when we're helping these people, that they'll remember those times when they were hard and then give back to society. But the strengths and weaknesses, I'd love to probably start with you, Diana, and you'd be able to list off not your strengths and weaknesses, but Bedros' strengths and weaknesses.
Oh, he has so many strengths. We'd be here all day. So many.
List off all the weaknesses, baby. Let him have it.
Just start with Bedros.
I think you stumped me. Let him go first.
Bedros go first. Yeah, I'd love to know how your relationship works. What's the success of your relationship? Maybe start there. What do you think the success has been? You guys, because you have been on a turbulent rail track. It's high speed, but it is bumpy. How is it you guys are still on that and being successful?
I think the biggest thing is the fact that we think of ourselves as a team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it always comes back to that, because if you're having, good times and a good season, you celebrate the team. And if you're having, if it's COVID and you think you're going to lose your company, you're thankful that you have your team. And when you're at conflict with each other, you still lean into the fact that this is the team. Like, this is the team that we rely on. I think that's how I conceptualize, like, why we've been able to just get stronger. And we're going to have our 20th wedding anniversary in less than a month. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, the team factor is so overlooked. It really is, because it's like gravity. It's the surest thing I know. Mm-hmm. It's good times, bad times, the team is there. The consistency of the team is there. And again, we're not supposed to be alone. We're not supposed to be isolated. We're not supposed to just try and figure it out on our own. A short list of Di's many strengths, I think, is the fact that she is great with organizing things. She's great with taking big ideas and breaking them down into bite-sized chunks that we can execute on. She's great with seeing around corners in ways that I can't, because I'm too far out in the vision, or I'm too locked on to something so far out. And just those things alone. She's great at delegating to the right people to get the things done, because we know that we can't just do it, the two of us on our own. Yes, the two of us together, we feel we're an amazing team, but then she just knows how to get things done. And I know that when she says it's going to get done, it's going to get done. Like, talk about consistency. Like, there's not a lack of consistency. Di says it's going to get done, it's going to get done. And so I can now close that loop, and therefore not have, all this, using up all this bandwidth to think, right? There's such thing as decision fatigue. So if I'm having to make every decision, by the end of the day, I'm making poor decisions. But if I can go, hey, Di, can you help make these decisions? And she goes, yes, I'm going to take these 10 things on. Whether she's doing it herself or she delegates it to 10 other people, I know it'll get done. And then if there was a weakness, I would say my awesome wife, and this also is a superpower too. And I also have this I think it's one of my weaknesses as well, is impatience. We don't have a lot of patience. My wife doesn't have a lot of patience. through my lens.
I can see
through my
how
lens. Yeah, through my lens.
That's been your experience.
But that's also why we live urgently. We live urgently, and we do things faster than others do. And we look back and we go, holy crap, we did a lot in the decade.
Yeah. The impatience
do you guys
benefits
get a chance
you.
do you guys, the one thing we never do, which is really bad, but we don't take vacation time. Have you guys mastered that after 20 years?
We don't take a lot, but we will. Like, we're going to go to Hawaii with the kids for 6 days or 5 days. We don't take long trips.
Yeah. We did one 10-day vacation, and I think we were all about to lose our shit. Yeah.
We do short ones. But then, like for our anniversary, we're going to go away for the night. But we're going to, it's going to be 2 days. And so it's small. I think small
We've gotten
things.
better with it. We've
definitely gotten
with
better.
Vacations and time off.
I think weekends, because, especially here in Southern California, we have a few places we like. And it's like, you can relax and connect a lot in a weekend.
Yeah, we found that easier since moving here. So we never took a weekend. We're just since we've almost spent Saturdays and Sundays are for the family. That's what we've. I don't know if it is.
And another weakness of ours is we don't celebrate success. As in, as soon as we've achieved something, we're not even in the moment and absorbing what we've just achieved. We're now looking at the next thing. And do you find that the same, or do you now take time and celebrate those successes, or do you just look on to the next challenge?
I think it's hard to stop and celebrate. And I think that's part of the process. And I think, isn't that in Tim Grover's book about the championship is won and then they're already planning their next practice. Like, it's just the momentum. You can't stop the momentum.
I think those who stop to celebrate, and this might sound mean, but those who stop to celebrate may only end up having that one success. I don't want to break my momentum. I don't want to break inertia. I don't want to break the karmic good that's going in my favor. I don't want to break anything. Like, if we've got a rhythm, I'm staying in it. And that's okay. Like, what is there to celebrate, quite honestly? Like what am I going to do? Like, I love the work so much that we produced this massive outcome together. And then, hey, let's stop and do the thing that we hate doing, which is get drunk, hungover, raise the roof, listen to loud music. Like, I hate all of that. If that's celebrating, so we'll go have a nice dinner and then back at it. We're doing it. I think that's healthy for us type A, tightly wound people.
We're the same. If we have alcohol, that's 2 days out of work. So we can't afford to take 2 days out. You know what I mean? It's like having COVID. It happen.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Biden gave us COVID. China gave us COVID. So I have to replace COVID with alcohol, or alcohol with COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because I normally would finish off with a question, but I feel like I already know the answer with you guys. You're amazing. But I'll ask it anyway. But each individually, what is your purpose? Bedros, will start with you.
My purpose is to continue to self-master, like meet my higher self. I think Ed Milet says it well. He says, when I die and I'm standing at the gates of heaven and God says, here's the Ed Milet that I created at his fullest potential. Ed says, I want to recognize that guy. I want to recognize that guy. So self-mastery is my purpose, so that I believe I've been given the gift of storytelling and communicating so that I can help millions of men also realize that they can flip the switch, and it doesn't have to take a decade. It can take months, if not a couple years, to become the higher version. Because when we do that, I don't know how to change the world, but I do know how to change myself and then be a role model for an individual and one more individual and one more. And then I tell all my listeners and subscribers, now you have to be that role model. And then maybe after a decade, that's how we change the world.
Well, it's hard to follow that, but very similar, just like continued self-growth. And through, my schooling, and actually in the next couple of months, I'm starting work at a community mental health center where I'm going to be working with people one-on-one and just helping others achieve healing in their life.
And I'll just end with everything you've achieved, all that you have, any of it possible without Diana?
Not at all. I would literally be in my 79 Toyota pickup at Fountain Valley, California as a personal trainer still at the LA Fitness right there, just working out and being a personal trainer, getting by. Because I'll have the vision and then she'll go, yeah, that's brilliant. Here's the pieces that have to get there. And then I'm like, well, if she believes in me, obviously this was a good idea. Because half the time I don't even believe in my own ideas. But when she believes in me, I go, this must be a good idea. So to me, I'd still be a personal trainer driving a 79 Toyota pickup. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Dean. Are you good?
Thank you, guys.
No, thank you so much. Some great insights, and appreciate you guys coming on. And yeah, I'll be back in the US soon, and hopefully we can get together for a dinner. No alcohol, though.
No alcohol.
Right. That'd be fun, man. Hey, safe travels to you. Have fun out there.
Thank you so much.
Very much. Thanks again. Appreciate it.